Good morning, class. I hope you are well on this beautiful Tuesday morning. So, you are here for our Just Too Easy live lesson. So, my name is Miss Kimball, and I'm going to be teaching you and your teachers how to use the Just Too Easy tool suite. And in today's session, we're going to be having a think about how to use JIT Animate. So we're going to be creating an animation today. So let's have a quick look at what we're going to learn to do today. So we are going to learn how to create, that should be an animation, create an animation using JIT Animate. And as part of that, we are going to add in a background, and we may well edit the background as well. So I'm going to add the background and edit it. We're going to use the clip art tool to add a character, and we're going to make that character move in each frame. So we're going to have a little think about what a frame is. We're also going to use onion skinning to help the positioning of our character. So we're going to have a little think about what onion skinning is and how we can use it. And then we're going to save our work. So this is my waggle, my what a good one looks like. This is my animation that I've made in JIT Animate. So this is JIT Animate. It looks very similar to JIT Paint, has the same functionality, but we have a frames reel at the bottom. So these are all my pictures that I have animated. I'm going to press play. So this is my space animation. I've got my rocket coming, and it is getting closer to the moon, and it is going to land on the moon. There we go. So it's getting bigger and bigger, and my little astronaut will pop out, and his little moon buggy will appear. So that's as far as I got. So we can add more frames to that. We can make that animation longer if we wanted to, but that gives you an idea of what we're going to create today. And these are our frames. Okay, so animations, the object doesn't actually move, it just looks like it moves. So we have lots of different pictures that we're going to create. I'm going to run those together really quickly, and it gives the illusion of movement. So hands up, who would like to create something like this with me? Hopefully you've all got your hands up. So that is my little animation. It's going a little bit quicker there. So first off, we're going to have a think about what is in space. So we're going to create a space animation. So we need to think of something that we want to have as our character. So in the background, we might well have some planets. So we've got some planets here. We've got Earth. We've got, I think this is supposed to be Mars or Saturn or a combination of the two. We've got some objects called moons. So we're going to land on the moon. Okay, so that is part of our animation. Meteorite. So we might want to animate a meteorite moving across the sky. And we've got our alien. So you might want to animate an alien. Now I'm going to animate a rocket, but you can choose what character you would like to animate. Okay, so first of all, we're going to find JIT. So teachers, the joy of delivering this through YouTube is that you can pause this session at any time. So I am assuming that the children are logged in, ready to go, ready to start animating. But if not, pause the session, get them logged in, and then you can pick up where you left off. But we are going to find JIT. So JIT is this icon here. We're going to find it on our launch pad. So let me find mine. It is here. Okay. And JIT always opens up into JIT Write. And we're not going to be doing any writing today. We're going to look for Animate, which is at the top of our page. Animate, it is the pink tab here. And you'll know that you're in the right place because your page will be pink. So if your page is a different colour, you're in the wrong tool. So find the Animate tab at the top and find your pink page. Now, if you did the paint lesson yesterday, this is a very similar interface. So it looks and it works very similarly. So we need to choose a background. And I'm going to choose my space background. So I'm going to use these little arrows here. And I'm going to scroll down until I find the space background. And I'm going to click on that, and that's going to add that as a background. Now, teachers, just be aware, you can also draw your own background. And you can also, if we go to pictures, you can add in, so you can create your own backgrounds and you can web search for a background. So this will offer us a web search, so I can look for space, for example. So you could animate onto a photograph. But we're going to stick with our template. That's just to make you aware, teachers, that that is a function that you can do. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to adjust or edit our background. So I would like you to go down here. So can you see this? Can you, where is my, there it is. I don't know where my cursor went then. So we're going to look for our background box. Can you see next to the play button here, we've got a background box. We're going to click in that and it is going to turn blue. So it's very important that you do this step, otherwise it won't work. Okay, so we're going to click on the background box. Make sure it's blue. Give your teacher a thumbs up if your background box is blue. Okay, teachers, you might want to go around and just double check that they have all got a blue background box. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to add in some clip art. So this is our clip art up here. So you can scroll through and you can find some objects to put on your page. Okay, so to add this onto our page, we're going to click on it. And if you've got a mouse, you can hover over and see how big that's going to be. If you've got an iPad or a touchscreen device, you'll need to stamp it on the screen. See what it looks like. If you don't like it, then you can take it away using the undo button. Okay, that is the only downside of using a touchscreen, is that we don't have that hover function to see what it looks like before we place it on the page. Now that's a little bit big for me, so I'm going to use this little minus button. I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. Then I'm just going to stamp it on my page. And I'm going to keep using these arrows. And I'm going to find some other things. I'm going to make that much smaller and add it. Well, that's a bit too small. Add it over here. Add this one over here. I'm going to keep that one because I'm going to use that one as my character. Now the stars, I'm going to stamp those all around. So I'm going to make them really small. Just stamp them all over my picture. Okay. Now the other things that we can do is we can flip. I'm just going to show you whilst it's bigger. So this is my reset button. This button here is the flip button. So that will flip the picture so it faces the other way. So that can be really useful for making your picture look different. And this is the rotate button. So that will turn it. So if we click this, can you see that is rotating around and around? So we can make our pictures look different. We can make them face a different way. We can make them turn at an angle. So these two buttons are for positioning. Make that much smaller. And I'm just going to stamp a few more stars around my sky. And then I'm going to reset. And I think that's all I'm going to add. Oh, I might add a meteorite actually. And I'm going to rotate that a little bit. There we go. Okay. Now you could use that as a character if you wanted to. I'm going to use my rocket, but that is an option. And there we go. That is my background. So teachers, if they want a little bit more time, you can give them more time. Just by pressing the pause button. And I'm being blinded by the sunshine. I'm just going to close that. It will blind me shortly. Okay. We'll light it up in a second. It'll catch up. There we go. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to click on this first frame. So these frames are pictures. Can you see these 5 pictures at the bottom of the screen? Excuse that ringing. It will stop shortly. There we go. Should have turned that on before I started. So these pictures at the bottom of our screen are our frames. Okay, and we're going to add our character into that first frame. So I would like you to click on the first frame, and you'll know that you clicked on it because you'll have these 3 buttons that appear, which we're not going to use just yet, but those 3 buttons will appear so that we know that we clicked on the first frame. And then we're going to go back up here and we're going to choose our character that we'd like to move. So I'm going to look for my rocket. Let's just wait for that ringing to stop. It shouldn't be ringing because it's not open on my laptop. But anyway, so we are going to choose one of these. Okay, so we've got our space characters, so we could have an alien that's moving. We could make a robot move. Got lots of robots to choose from. But I'm going to keep scrolling until I find, I'm going to go for my nice silvery rocket. Okay. And that's quite a nice size. I could go a little bit bigger if I wanted to. I could go a little bit smaller if I wanted to. So choose the object you would like to make move and then resize it. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to find a starting position. So I quite like my characters to come off the screen. You might, if you've got the other rocket, you might have it launching off the moon surface. If you've got a meteorite, might have it coming from the top down. So it really depends on your character. And then we're just going to stamp it where we would like it to start. So I'm going to click, and that has stamped that onto my page. Now don't worry, if you've stamped it in the wrong place, you can just press this little undo button up here, and that will take that away. Okay. So I'm going to stamp it where I would like it to start, and then I'm going to go to the second frame. So I'm going to go to this frame here. And we suddenly have, I'm going to zoom in just so you can see, this little ghost rocket or ghost character, whatever character it is that you've used. This is what we call our onion skinning. Who can say onion skinning? Well done, onion skinning. Okay, that shows us where the character was in the previous frame. So that can help us with our positioning in the next frame. So what we want is, we want that movement to be quite small from the previous frame. We don't want to stamp our character over here because that's going to look awful. So we want to get our rocket fairly close. We don't want it directly on top, so we don't want it to completely cover the onion skinning. So can you see, I can't see any of that ghost rocket. So I'm going to move it sort of down and to the side, and then I'm going to click. So I've left a little bit of a gap. Now this can be a little bit tricky when you've got your touchscreen devices because you've got to stamp it to see what it looks like. So if you've stamped it and it is way off, just click the undo button and then reposition. And then you're going to do the same. You're going to go to frame number 3. We've got our onion skinning, so it's showing the previous 2 frames. So again, I'm just going to go to the side a little bit and click. And then frame 4, the same. We're going to go to the side a little bit and click. Frame 5, go to the side a little bit and click. So those are our 5 frames. To check what our animation looks like, so check that it looks okay, we can keep pressing this play button every so often to see how we're doing. So much like with our coding, you need to check all the time that you're coding it correctly. Animation is very similar. You need to check that it looks okay. Then when we're happy with that, we're going to add some more frames. So that's a very short animation. We're going to add another frame. So to add a frame, we're going to click on this little plus, this green plus button here. And that is going to add an additional frame. And you're going to do the same thing. You're going to move your character to the side, stamp, green plus, to the side, stamp, green plus, to the side, stamp, green plus. And you can just keep going and going and going. And then we can check our animation every so often. Okay. Now along the bottom, just next to my head here, this is our frames per second scroller. So we can make that animation quicker or slower. So using these buttons here, so this one here with the 3 arrows, that makes our animation much quicker. This one on the left with the 1 arrow makes it much slower. So we can press play, and that makes it much slower. So it really depends on what you've animated, how fast you would like it to go. Just remember, if you are making your animation a fast animation, you will need a lot more frames because the frames per second will be much more. So if we're moving this up, it might go from 3 frames per second to 5 frames per second. So that means for every second of animation that you need 5 separate pictures. Okay. The other thing that we can do when we're sort of adding in new animations, new frames, you can start playing with things like perspective. So things that get closer will be bigger, things that get further away will get smaller. So we can use this little plus arrow to make our character get a little bit bigger. So every sort of third frame, you can make that look like it's getting closer by pressing that big button, the plus button. And press plus. And there we go. You can have it landing there. Okay. Anything you add into the middle of the animation, you can have characters that just appear. So with my astronaut, I had my astronaut just climbing out of my rocket. So what I did to create that is I actually created some freeze frames of my rocket because my rocket has landed on the moon and I don't want it to move any further. Okay, so for freeze frames, what we can do down here, and it's behind my head, how irritating. Let me move my head on my streaming. There we go, I'm facing the other way now. Here we go. So let me get my cursor back. There we go. So this red plus button here is the freeze frame. So that will copy everything that is on that frame at that moment. So if we press that, I'm going to press that about 5 or 6 times. Okay, so that if I scroll through my last few frames, my rocket isn't moving. There's nothing moving on my screen. Okay, so that is keeping that character still. But then we can scroll back. So we've got our little scroller here underneath, and we can scroll back. Oh, I pressed it a few times. Here we go. So this is where my rocket lands. So I can scroll back to that first frame where we started freezing it. And that's where I can introduce another character. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to find my astronauts. Here we go. I'm going to make her smaller. We don't want her so big that she is bigger than the rocket. So we're just going to have her kind of appear by the side of the rocket. And I'm just going to stamp her. So I'm going to do the same thing, but this time, instead of pressing the green plus, I'm just going to go and click on the next frame. And there we go. We've got our onion skinning for our astronaut. So we can have her kind of moving out of the rocket. And then I'm going to click on the next frame. Next frame. So you don't have to press the green plus because we've already created those frames. Add that character in. Okay, and I can press play and see what my animation looks like. So there is my rocket that's getting closer and closer and it lands. And there's my astronaut. So you can see we've created about 5 frames, but there's not a lot of animation on the screen for a very long time. So we can keep going. I have got some more frames. Okay. And if we wanted, we could then use that last frame and we can freeze it again. So we can add more freeze frames, come back and keep animating our astronaut. You can use that freeze frame for as long as you need to. Just remember to make sure that you freeze it without that character that you're making move. Otherwise, they will just be still as well. Okay. So that is how you can create an animation, create the movement, use your onion skinning, and also add in an additional character if you wanted to. Now, a little extension activity, teachers, if you want it, there is the ability up here to record sound. So that might be a story that goes alongside the animation. And that's a very simple record button. So we just press this. You can press that little record and that will save that sound bite with that animation. So children, we are going to save our work. So I would like you to title your file. So I'm just going to name that space, I don't know, 26. Okay. I'm going to press this save button up here. It's the orange one at the top of our screen with the floppy disk on it. So when I click that, I get my saving circle. So you should have something pop up on your screen. And we've also got it sort of grays out. We've got a save button onion skinning there, haven't we? So it grays out so you know that something has happened. Now, children, when you save it like this, you can come back to it. Teachers, they don't have to complete this in one lesson. So they can create these animation files, save them, and then open them from their My Files area. Okay. Once the animations are finished, you've also got the option to export as GIF. So that saves that as an animation file, just a little video format. Okay. So hopefully you have enjoyed this live lesson. Teachers, I hope you've enjoyed it as much as the children have as well. So be sure to tag us if you are putting any content out on social media. And please be sure to tag us, otherwise we don't get to see it. So we are on Facebook, X and Instagram. You can find us using the hashtag @Just2easy and we should pop up. So thank you ever so much for giving up your precious time. Hope you've enjoyed the live lesson. We do deliver these every Thursday morning, and you can find more details on your Launchpad teachers via the teachers area. Within the What's On tab here, you'll find all the training and all the live lessons. And all of our live lessons are recorded, so you can access those here in our YouTube channel. So thank you ever so much, and we will see you for another live lesson soon. Okay, bye-bye.